everybody, my name is Jenny and I am sitting on my still messy bed. You may be thinking to yourself right now, hey Jenny, why are you always wearing a hat, you creep, in your videos lately? You'll find that out in a new video soon, but not in this video. So today I want to talk about tips for traveling with a chronic illness. I recently took a trip back home in July to Atlanta, which is about four and a half hour flight from Los Angeles. I was there about a month and then I came back. To go there I had to travel. And so I thought, why don't I film some stuff? Why don't I let you know what I do to travel? Even though I have all these tips, it makes traveling easier for me. But in general, traveling is hard for me with my particular illness, which if you're new to my videos is systemic lupus. No matter what I do to try to ease the traveling, I still end up incredibly fatigued and a lot of pain. Like if you know me in my day-to-day life, I get around pretty well now. Like I rarely have to use a cane. Unless I'm in a very, very bad flare, I walk fine by myself. The beginning of my illness, I didn't. I had to have walking aids, but now I'm doing well. However, when I travel, there's something about packing and getting ready and getting physically all my luggage to a vehicle and getting it from the vehicle to everything, and all of that is so exhausting. And I know my body well enough now that I go ahead and do precautionary things that to prevent me from being sick later, because if I overextend my body, I know that I will have days worth of residual effects from it. So for instance, if I might be able to walk fine without a cane, if I am in an airport and have to walk around a bunch and I'm carrying things, I have my cane with me in case I need it. And I often end up needing it later that day or right away. It just depends. You'll see when I get into all of this, but I just wanted to make that clear that these aren't things I necessarily need all the time. Some of you might need these all the time, but I just wanted to say that for those of you who don't need them all the time, and you sometimes feel like if you're at the airport, you wish you had these things, but you in your head feel like you can't justify it. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It literally only matters what's good for your health, your body, your future. You're the one going on the trip. You don't want to go on a vacation or a trip and then have to spend the next few days feeling super sick and not getting to enjoy yourself or enjoy your family or rest or anything. Like, you don't want to be in pain. So yeah, I guess let's get into the video. My first tip is pack with your body in mind. Meaning, don't overpack to the sense where it's gonna be super heavy. Really think about what you're really going to use. I mean, this is common sense stuff that pretty much everyone probably does anyway when they travel, especially now because you do have to pay per bags, or you know, there's a certain weight you have to have. I travel one airline all the time, primarily because it goes straight to Atlanta. There's nonstop flights. It is cheaper, and for me, I know that there's no pre-assigned seating and people with disabilities can get on the plane first. And I usually have a very good shot of getting a seat that will accommodate me for the flight and be very good for me. My airline I use, this is not sponsored. I'll just say I use Southwest. It's not sponsored. They just happen to work for me and do all the things I said before. But Southwest allows you to have 2 bags for free. I know a lot of airlines, you even have to pay for 1 bag, or you might get 1 free. Southwest right now at least is doing 2 for free. So what I usually do is I put my heavier stuff in the bigger one, because there's gonna be one I know that I'm gonna have to literally pull, but then I always have my second suitcase if I have to bring 2 suitcases. If it's a trip for a month, I'm gonna have to. And the thing is when I get home, I realize I really didn't need half the stuff I brought, but I end up not being able to narrow it down past 2 suitcases. So I usually make the smaller one really light and the bigger one the heavier one, because it just pulls, and the other one, if I need to maneuver it really quickly, it's a lot easier to do so. And then I have to bring a separate bag for my laptop and the things I want to use on the plane. I usually bring my purse, and then I have my service dog, who, do you want to be on camera? Ebenezer. And even though she normally, I carry her everywhere, she doesn't travel in like a container, a container. Crate. She's terrified of the airport. There's so many people. It makes her feel good to have her crate there. And if there was ever an emergency on the plane or something, if there was ever an emergency on the plane or something, I would need her to have her little case to be in, even though she's not required to be in it on the plane because she's a service dog. If she was, say, an emotional support animal, she would be required to stay in her carrier the whole time on the plane. But she's supposed to be with me the entire time, so she does not stay in the carrier. I literally bring her in it in the airport for her comfort and for ease in carrying everything else I'm carrying. So it does make it so I have a lot of things to carry in the airport. However, once I get to the airport, you know, right away you give all of your luggage and stuff to check-in, you know, baggage or whatever, and then it goes away. So really you only have your purse and your bag and your dog. So that's what, 3 things? So pack with your body in mind. Just think, I'm gonna have to get from my front door of my house to the vehicle which I'm leaving, from the vehicle to the check-in, and then I've got to get to the gate after that. Plus you have to unpack during security. So just don't overfill things, but just bring bags that will not hurt your back. Because I notice when I'm in the airport, my shoulders, my lower back, those are the things that tend to hurt the most because you are lifting heavy things and you're moving, and my dog is hitting the camera. Sorry. So just keep that in mind. Tip number 2 is to arrive early at the airport. You know, most airports, I think they recommend 2 hours early. I'm never later than 2 hours early because I know I have to get to the gate, or I have to check in and get to the gate. When I was flying to Atlanta, I know that is a huge airport, so like when I'm coming back to Los Angeles, I give myself even more time because I'm gonna have to get through a longer area to get to my gate. At LAX, they usually don't even let you in the airport prior to 2 hours, I believe, or they used to not. I just time it so I arrive at 2 hours because I have to get wheelchair access when I'm there, and that takes time, and then I have to get to the gate and check in and all of that. So just keep that in mind when you arrive. Also, your transportation to the airport. So I never drive to the airport because A, I don't want to spend the money. I feel like the money I could spend on a car service there, like Uber or a shuttle or something, is gonna add up to the amount of driving. And if I'm already stressed about having to go, I don't want to wait in traffic. I don't want to have to deal with parking and somehow get from my parking spot to the airport. I also don't want to have to, like, at the end of my flight, I'm going to be exhausted. I'm probably going to be in a lot of pain. I'm just going to want to get into some kind of car and not have to worry about driving home. Just have someone else drive me home so I can just relax. Because people with chronic illnesses, even if we look okay, we're not. And so what we do to our bodies, it can affect us days later, even if it seems innocent. At least with my condition, and I know a lot of my friends who have different conditions, it's that way. Number 3, your health is the most important thing. Do not worry about what you look like, because ultimately no one really cares as much as you think they care. So if you need a walking aid at the airport, if you need to wear a medical mask, if you need wheelchair access, but you're embarrassed to do all those things, who cares? Like literally, say somebody is staring at you at the airport, are they gonna remember who you are the next day? No, I can guarantee you could be in line behind them at Starbucks the next day. They're not gonna know you're the same person in the airport with all that fanfare going on. They're not gonna know. It doesn't matter. The first time I had to go into the airport when I was sick, it was really uncomfortable. I just felt bad using all the tools at my disposal, and I felt really weird wearing a mask on my face. And I do that because I happen to be on an immunosuppressive drug. I take chemo every Monday. It's killing my immune system. I also have a disease that if I get an infection, my disease can get worse, and it's pretty dangerous. And so I don't want to chance that. There's so many germs at the airport. There are so many people. It's just smarter to take care of yourself, especially when you're on a plane that's enclosed. You don't know who might have the flu or who might be just sick behind you with a cold. And if you get sick, and even if you got sick and had to go to the doctor to get like medicine, that could expose you to more germs and a different sickness, which could end up in the hospital, and then you can even get a different sickness. So it's just better, like if you can wear the mask on your face, which is, I mean, they're so easy. I bought like a pack of 100 on Amazon, I think, and they're just the little like doctor's masks, and I keep a bunch in my purse, and I only use them when I travel, or if I I mean, I guess I would use it. I use it at doctor's offices too. Ones that are like urgent care or the emergency room, I use a medical mask. But like my rheumatologist, I don't. They're easy to access, easy to buy, and I mean, they don't take up room in your luggage, and they can prevent the germs. I mean, yes, you could still get sick, but you could greatly lower the odds by at least trying that. I also bring a lot of hand sanitizer because you're touching a bunch of stuff at the airport. If you want to wipe down your seat or the tray, bring like a little like cleansing wipe. As for my walking aid, I always bring a cane to the airport. I use it when I'm going through security. I also get wheelchair service. So what that means is once I've checked my bags in, I wait for a wheelchair, and somebody from the airline, each airline has their own wheelchair people. So somebody from Southwest wheelchair people, somebody will be assigned me. I will get in the wheelchair. They will take me to security. They'll help me. I'll basically sit in the wheelchair. You usually get to bypass the line only because the airport people don't want to wait. The airport people need to go get somebody else after they've wheeled you to the gate. So what they'll do is they'll go through a special access point. They will help you unpack your bag into the little bins, and then they will walk you through. If you have a service dog, your service dog is going to be checked for explosives, which is the saddest thing ever that people would even do that. But basically they will wipe my hands down with this special cloth to make sure there's no explosives that I've hidden inside of her, because I guess if they are, it'll like the residue will come off on my hands and it'll show that she is a security threat. Otherwise that's all they do with your dog if you happen to have a service dog with you. So I'm required to walk her through the x-ray machine too though. So she walks through with me, everything else stays. They run my cane through the x-ray thing too because I want to make sure nothing's hidden in it. But usually they ask me if I can walk or not, and since I can, I say yes, but I always say I can walk through, but I need to have something there when I get on the other side, because I've learned if you don't say that, they don't care. They'll just take forever to get the wheelchair to you. Then you end up standing there, and if you're in pain or you're uncomfortable, often like nobody's really paying attention to notice that they need to speed this up and get your chair. Also, if you don't, because they've taken your walking aid from you, you can request like they can give you a temporary wooden one that goes through the security thing with you until you get your normal cane. I've noticed, especially this last trip to Atlanta, I had a very angry wheelchair person, and those make it the worst because it's clear they don't like their job or they're unhappy and they don't have any empathy, and they have no concept of what's wrong with you. This woman was awful, and I was very clear about my needs, and she ignored me, and I ended up being in a lot of pain later because she wouldn't do anything. She wouldn't help me at the end. She didn't make sure my wheelchair was there, and I kept saying something, and she just stared at me and pretty much rolled her eyes, and I told her, I was like, well, thank you, this is really gonna affect me later, and I just did everything myself. But my point is, because I wasn't standing there and she didn't have the chair there, nobody in the other airport security people knew that I was waiting on those things, so they were telling me to get my stuff and get off the conveyor belt, and I was really confused. I was like, but it's hard for me to get all this stuff right now. That is what the wheelchair person is supposed to help you with, and she wasn't helping me. So just advocate for yourself. If you're not being helped the way you need to, just kindly request you get helped the way you need to. And then once you get all of your stuff together, you get back on the wheelchair, and they will wheel you to your gate, and they will park you to, right where you can, where you're not in the way of everyone, but they'll just park you there. I've asked before, like if we're going to the gate, I've said, hey, can I stop by and get a magazine really quickly or something like that? Usually they'll accommodate you. I always tip, so as soon as I get to the gate, I will tip that person and thank them for accompanying me to the gate. And same when I get off the plane and get to baggage claim and all of that, I will tip them at the end of that and thank that person for helping me. So that was tip number 4, that wheelchair service is available. Number 5, choose a seat that works for you. So if you do have an airline where you pre-pick your seat, if you need to pay a little bit more to get a seat that is gonna be more comfortable, that's not gonna hurt you the entire flight, do that, because like I said, your health is most important. When you get to your location, if you've been cramped in a seat that doesn't work for you, or you say that you need to go to the bathroom a lot or something, you need to be in the aisle seat and you're not doing that, it can just add little bits of stress to you. So make sure you get the seat that works for you. I fly Southwest, which does not have assigned seating. So what Southwest does for everyone is like 24 hours before your flight, you sign in and you get your assigned seat based on the order you log in. But if you have a disability, you get to pre-board. And so that means that before those people who have assigned seats go on, the wheelchair people go on. So it's usually the wheelchair people go on first, then anyone walking with a disability will go on, but usually sometimes they aren't paying attention and they kind of meld together, and then the rest of everyone gets to come on. So I usually luck out and get the seat that I need, which is in the front row. And I'm not trying to be like annoying by getting in the front row, but with my condition, if I'm cramped up for a long period of time, I can't stretch out my legs, things like that, my legs will start seizing up and I'll just be in a ton of pain. The front row, I can stretch my legs out. There's plenty of room for my dog. My dog behaves well on a plane, but it does make her nervous. The more people that are around me, if there are people in front of me, on both sides of her, that's just more people for her to be surrounded by to get more nervous. So if I'm on the front of the plane, I always get by the window. That way she has the window on one side of her, like the wall, and I can kind of protect her. So she really only has me at the window. There's no one in front of her. Behind me is people, but she can't see them. And then my seatmates here, right next to me. If you do have a service dog, you're probably used to having the really like annoyed people that you have an animal on a plane, people who think they're disgusting or think that they're allergic to them or something, and I have to reassure them I'm not gonna have my dog climbing on you. A lot of people seem to think you're gonna have your dog climbing on them. I have to reassure them I'm not. If someone's super rude to you, just, you know, it's hard because sometimes I snap, but I really try to say I'm sorry, but this is something I need. It's an accommodation I need. I can do what I can on my end to not have her get on you. Usually they huff away and pick a different seat. Drinks and snacks. So make sure that you have drinks and snacks. My health condition prevents me from being able to have gluten, and I'm also vegan. That doesn't allow for a lot of like airport food. So what I do is I try to bring a snack on the plane in my carry-on so that I can eat it when they're passing out all the other stuff to everyone that I can't eat. I get water at the airport usually, and then when I sit down, what I do, I personally get a drink, like an alcoholic drink on the plane because it calms me down. I'm not advocating drinking, by the way. I'm just saying what I do. Yeah, I usually get like an orange juice and vodka, and so that way I have like, I'm still getting juice in me, a little vitamin C, but I got my vodka. Number 7, things to bring on a plane. Make sure you have all the things you might need on a plane. And think ahead, like say you do get sick, what will help you? So if you have any medications you take, bring those. Obviously you need all your medications in your carry-on because if your bags get lost, you don't want to be without those. And you also don't want random security people going through your bag and possibly like doing stuff to your medication without you knowing it. So I always have it with me. And since I take injections, I always am like, hey, these are a bunch of needles, this is this and this, and they're always cool. Like no one ever gives me a problem. I've never had anyone give me a problem about my medication, but I always keep it with me. That being said, I have the things that I need in case something else happens. Like if I get a migraine, I have a migraine pill. If my muscles start seizing up, I carry a muscle relaxer. If I start getting very nauseated, I have an anti-nausea pill. I bring eye drops, I bring earplugs, I bring hand sanitizer. What else do I bring? If you need a pillow, bring a pillow. If you need like a back brace or something like that, bring that. Temperature control. I know some people with chronic illnesses, or a lot of people, if you can't readily control your temperature, it can really affect you. I know if I get too hot, I start feeling sick. If I get too cold, I start feeling sick. Like my body likes it when I can regulate my own temperature. And often I find with my medication, with my illness, my temperature is very different than the person next to me. So the person next to me could be freezing and I'm burning up. The person next to me could be burning up and I am freezing. This past flight, everyone on it was freezing but me, and they had the pilot turn the heat on, and it scared me to death because I thought the worst thing for me is to get too hot. Luckily, that didn't last very long, like it was only temporary. That being said, if you do get overheated, there are things you can bring, like little ice packs and things that you can have with you so that you can cool off if other people aren't. Make sure you bring a sweatshirt, make sure you bring like a little blanket or something in case it's cold, because usually planes are on the colder side because they want to make sure people aren't too hot. And the air, you know, because it's like recycling, it's less stuffy if it's cool. Lotion, you can tend to get really dried out on planes. Make sure you have lotion. I have Sjogren's syndrome, which is a condition where my exocrine glands are damaged. So my moisture, those are your moisture glands, they don't produce moisture like they should. They malfunction. So I have to make sure I have the things that would work for that too. So lotion if my skin gets dry, my eye drops. I bring gum to chew if on the plane for saliva, if there's no saliva in my mouth. What else? I bring my mask on the plane. And then if you need like an eye mask or something like that, bring it, bring earplugs. I know if I get overstimulated, if my nervous system gets overstimulated, it can make my hearing amplified. So I like to have stuff to distract my hearing, because if my hearing's amplified and I hear something that is aggravating, I can't unhear it. Once I've heard it, I can't unhear it. Like this last flight, somebody somewhere was listening to, it had to have been some kind of sports game without headphones, which is just rude, but it was low, but I could hear it distinctly, and I kept looking at the person next to me and I was like, can you hear it? Because it's driving me crazy. They could hear it, it wasn't bothering them, it was driving me crazy. So I had luckily earplugs to make that go away. Number 8, have your medical information available. If something happens on the plane, you want them to know what's wrong with you. Carry it in your wallet or carry it somewhere where they can easily find it. So if there's a doctor on board, they'll be able to see, this is the medication you're on, this is your illness, this is what needs to happen. Like any special instructions, let them know. I have a medical ID bracelet. It has my name on it. It says systemic lupus here, SLE. On the back, it says that I have hypoglycemia, because I do. That way, if they think I'm drunk or I'm not talking or something, it is written in my specific medical instructions, which are in my wallet. This has my mom's cell phone number on it. And it also has on it, in parentheses, medical info and wallet. In my wallet, I have my medications detailed, my doctors listed. I have things written out like, if I'm acting this way, this is what's going on, do this. If I seem like this will happen in this amount of time. Especially with my hypoglycemia, it acts differently than I think people normally think it would. And so, especially in my experience with myself and having to go to the hospital or doctors with it, I now know to write certain things down specifically so that I don't have to stress about it. I know someone's gonna read it and take care of it. So just make sure you have that with you. Then number 9, arriving at the gate. So when you get to the gate, if you have wheelchair access, there will be a wheelchair waiting for you when you get off the plane. Usually I will stand up, stretch my legs, I will ask someone to help me get my bags down, and I'll wait until there's a time I can get off the plane without a bunch of people shoving into me, and then I get to that wheelchair, and then they help me and they get me to baggage claim. They will get my bags from baggage claim, they will attach it to the wheelchair, they will get me to my car service to get home, and then I will tip them. And it really, really, really helps. It really helps, because even though it may seem like someone's helping you and it's just gonna be super easy, I can guarantee it's so stressful still. You're still having to walk, you're still having to carry those things off the plane. If you're not feeling well, you're still gonna be tired. So having that extra service that is available for you, that's why the airlines provide it, and you really do need it. So you don't have to justify in your head why you need it. You do, you need it. If you're questioning whether you need it, chances are you probably need it. And you don't have to be 100 years old. Like, I am not 100 years old and I don't care. You know, I use it. And they'll get you to the car, and then you're in the car. And then 10, lastly, make sure you rest when you get home. Make sure you take any medicine you need. Make sure you have a full meal. Make sure you just take care of yourself, because if you did get any germs on the plane, you want to make sure your body is able to fight them, and you want to make sure the rest of your trip is great. And I think that's everything. So those are my tips for traveling with a chronic illness. If you have any tips that I haven't thought of or haven't come up with, or something that works for you, please share them below. I would love any way to make my life easier, to make other people's lives easier. If you have any suggestions of any videos you would like to see, I've got more planned, but if you happen to want to know anything, I'm an open book. Ask, and maybe I'll make a video about it, or I'll just answer you in the comment. Other than that, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to my channel. I do videos about my illness, about mental health stuff. I've got a lot of other things coming, but I also just do lifestyle stuff and whatever. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys whenever I decide to film another video, and have a great day. Bye.